Hello, loves. Happy Aquarius moon cycle. Aquarius new moon just happened yesterday from when I'm recording this. I'm just going to be on audio today because I'm super cozy in the dead of winter, well, the California winter, and I don't feel like being on camera today. So I am not, but I do feel like dropping this message for y'all because I'm super excited for the Aquarius moon cycle and Aquarius season in general. I love Aquarius season. I'm biased because I have my sun and rising and Venus and Mercury all in Aquarius. So this season, like whatever is usually happening in the sky in this season, it always just feels so personal to me, usually in a good way. And I just love the vibe. So here we are. And what I want to say about this moon for us, this month for us. So, Aquarius, just like Capricorn, because we just came out of Capricorn season, Capricorn and Aquarius are right next to each other in the zodiac. And both of these signs are ruled by Saturn, right? Saturn is the planet of rules and boundaries and restrictions and maturity and the wisdom that comes from experience, but also like the discipline and the limitations that we have to have in order to be in integrity, in order to like be grown-ups and get stuff done in a realistic way. Um, can be kind of a bummer for sure. It's not fun. Like Saturn is not fun, but Saturn is so necessary um, to us, living as human beings and getting things done in this world and growing, which is what I believe we're really here to do, learn and grow. And so there's a difference though between Capricorn's, you know, how Capricorn, I guess, embodies Saturn versus how Aquarius embodies Saturn. So for Capricorn, um, it's really like self-discipline and getting, taking care of my business, being mature and responsible and all that. That gets me to accomplishment. And I actually like personally, gratefully am feeling that kind of vibe after this particular Capricorn season that we just came out of. Like, I feel like, okay, whew, like finally, like work is paying off, inner work I've been doing, I feel like has been paying off. So, and I feel like that's very Capricorn. Like, I do the work and I have accomplishments, right? Whereas Aquarius, that's not really Aquarius's motivation necessarily to have accomplishments. Not really at all, actually. It's to have freedom. For Aquarius, that self-discipline equals freedom. Okay, because freedom it's not just doing whatever we want. Because sometimes the things that we want to do and that we have desires and impulses to do are not actually good for us and don't actually move us toward what we want in the bigger picture, right? So like I'll give an example. Like sometimes, like last night, like when I don't have my son with me, I feel, or maybe even after, when he goes to sleep sometimes, but like last night I didn't have him with me. And so I was like, "Ah, I could just do whatever I want, and I stayed up all late, doing nothing, like scrolling on my phone, just because I could. And in the moment, I think that that sort of like unconscious need that I was fulfilling was like just that need for freedom, to feel free, because as parents, especially as a single parent, like you get weighed down, so many things to take care of all the time, taking care of business, adulting, doing the grown up stuff all the time. And so sometimes we just like want that freedom. And so we'll do things that in the moment we're like, oh, this is like, I'm getting to do whatever I want. But guess what? When today rolled around and I actually had things that I really wanted to get to, and because they move me toward and toward what I really want and fill me up and are part of my bigger picture and are part of my values. I was kind of tired to get to those things, you know. Thankfully, I did get to them. This is actually one of them, sending this, recording this message. But um, yeah, so I did have that realization too. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes the things that we seek for freedom aren't actually getting us freedom. And sometimes what actually gets us that freedom that we want, and that Aquarius as an air sign, as an expansive, forward thinking, also Uranus ruled in the modern, tradition. Uh, what Aquarius seeks and loves is freedom. So we can get that. We can get that Uranian freedom through working with the Saturnian discipline, being on our shit, getting done the things we need to get done. Like I said, can be kind of a bummer, Saturn, but thankfully with this new moon, Saturn is actually conjunct Venus. They're both in Aquarius. So the new moon is happening at 1 degree of Aquarius at the beginning of the sign, and then Saturn and Venus are I think they're at like 27 or 28 degrees of Aquarius, so at the end of the sign. But yeah, they're still in Aquarius and they are conjunct. Saturn and Venus are together. And so what Venus does is it just sweetens things up a bit and kind of makes Saturn a little bit slightly less of a bummer. It does. It does. It gives, and so that signature, that Saturn Venus conjunction at the time of the new moon, um, gives the entire month, the entire lunar cycle, a little signature of that sweetness. Um, and it also kind of reminds us of where we were all of 2022, which was a year that was all about relationships, right? Um, it was all about relationships, and Venus is also about relationships. And so there is still kind of that signature that we're carrying into 2023 with us at this very first new moon of 2023. Is it the first one? When was Capricorn? Yeah, it is. It is the first one of 2023. Um, yeah. So that's what I see for us. And then as far as our inner child work this lunar cycle, our inner child work. So when we're talking about inner child healing, we're talking about our wounds from childhood, which, by the way, you know, if you believe in past lives, which, there's some schools of astrology, like evolutionary astrology does, subscribe to that. And I personally do. It's okay if you don't, you can disregard this part. But I will just add, for those of you who are interested, a lot of times our childhood wounds are very foundational wounds. They also give us clues and hints into past life wounds and like past life lessons that we're bringing into this life and learning more about and sorting through in this life. So, the foundational wound, the childhood wound for this Aquarius moon cycle would be, or really any thing to do with Aquarius, would be that wound of not being understood. Oh, the wound of just not being understood by the people around you, and as a child, particularly by your caretakers. Oof, what that wound can lead to, one of the things it can really lead to as a child, as a teen, as an adolescent, now carrying, following us into our adulthood, is seeking validation, just being so desperate to be understood, being so desperate to have someone else like get us, right? We might see things, know things, feel things in our gut clearly about ourself, about our life, about a given situation, But if we don't have like someone else there being like, oh, yeah, I see that too. You're right. Then we're shaky, right? We're shaky about our conviction. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with wanting and even needing support and validation from our loved ones. That's legit. We do need that. We need each other. But there's like degrees, there's levels to that. Um, and at a core level, like as an adult, we really do need to have like just a baseline level of like being able to validate ourselves and being able to be like, okay, maybe others don't get my idea or get my perspective or how I'm seeing things, but if I really truly feel in my heart that this is the way, that this is that I say the way like so much like an Aquarius, but that this is what's right for me, then you know we it's really helpful to us to be able to just move with that and be okay with being different, right? um, Being okay with shining, even if people don't get our big idea, right? So, the healing for this is, of course, when we're talking about reparenting ourselves, the healing for this is understanding ourself, giving ourself that understanding, giving ourself that validation. And yeah, being okay with being weird, being different, right? Um, and like leaning into what that Aquarius archetype is, which is a stubborn motherfucker. Excuse my language. But Aquarius is fixed air. Okay, air being our thoughts, our ideas, our communication. So it's a fixed mindset. It's a stubborn mindset. It's like, this is the way, and it can be to a fault. It absolutely can be to a fault, where it's like, you get too dogmatic about it and think that your way is the only way. But let's find a balance in that and lean into that. If we have this wound of needing other folks to validate us, needing other folks to understand us, then in Aquarius season, what we have access to is that fixed air element to be convicted in our own ideas, in our own insights. Be okay with being different. Okay. On a practical note, positive self-talk and like pep talks in the mirror and affirmations are like super, super, super helpful in any air season, and especially in Aquarius season. The sun is actually in fall in Aquarius, and so it is a sign that can definitely have trouble being comfortable shining. And so, yeah, positive self-talk, pep talks in the mirror, affirmations. You do not have to be understood to shine. And you also don't have to know everything to shine. You don't have to be perfect to shine. Okay. As we do this healing, this healing of our deeper wounds and healing of our mindset, really, this will help our goals. This will affect us setting our goals and intentions for 2023. Because when we have these deeper wounds that we are not examining and not working with, even if we're unconscious of them, especially if we're unconscious of them, they show up. They come and affect our mindset. They come and affect our emotions and therefore our behaviors. And they'll even affect what types of goals we're setting, what intentions we're setting for the year, and why. Okay. I'll leave it there and move on to our parenting for this year. Ah, my foot's asleep. Okay. So our parenting for the year. I'm for the year. Let's take it month by month. For parenting for this month, for this Aquarius moon cycle. Can we allow our kids to be individuals, even the parts of them that we don't get, right? If the core wound, the inner child wound that we're working with this month is that wound of being understood or not being understood, then, and if our intention is to not pass our wounds on to our kids, to do what we can, everything in our power, that they don't end up carrying these wounds, at least in the same way that we do, can we allow them to be individuals, even the parts of them that we maybe don't understand or don't get? And here's where we can even take this deeper. And I actually wanted to mention that with this new moon, Pluto is also present. Okay. And so Pluto is conjunct the new moon. And so this work, this inner child work, this healing of deep foundational wounds is so supported. It's the time for it when Pluto is around. So on a Plutonian level, digging up deep, hard things that we typically repress and don't want to look at, can you ask yourself, are there any things about your kids that you on some level actually wish were different? Or, different about how they are, who they are, or how they behave? This can be hard because, of course, like as parents, we have unconditional love for our kids. We don't want to judge them. There are babies, we love them unconditionally. And it could be really, really difficult to admit to ourselves that, gosh, actually, there's this one thing, that is really triggering, for me about my kid, or really difficult for me about my child or about our dynamic. That's really normal, though. I just want to say that that is really, really, really so normal, and it doesn't get talked about. And I think that if it did get talked about more, then we would all be set up to have a lot better chance of doing this intergenerational healing, right? Because once we're honest with ourselves, once we're courageous to look at these like things that are kind of taboo, then we're actually in a position to heal them, to work with them, to navigate them with more grace, with more intention, right? So, another question for you. Can you accept that about yourself? Can you accept that maybe there are some things that might be triggering or difficult for you about who your kid like is? I think it's really more about who they are, because of course all of us, I think we do have a great culture going on. Millennial parents particularly, like we talk a lot about our kids' behavior, challenging behaviors, and we're learning how to talk about that in a really compassionate way, and like work with them and support them in a really compassionate way around behaviors that are challenging, and teaching them. But this is like a different level of not just how they behave, but like who they are, you know, um, personality wise, not just behavior wise, but are there things about y'all's personalities that clash, you know? And can you accept that about yourself? That there are some things that rub you the wrong way about your baby, you know? Because once you can accept that about you and face that about you, then you are free to not repress and project that onto your kid. And you're free to move toward greater acceptance of them and supporting them, allowing them to be individuals and be who they truly are. Yes, yes, yes. One more practical note, that might seem a little bit out of left field, but I promise it's relevant. So Pluto, which I mentioned, is up in the mix with this new moon. It is going to be moving into Aquarius in March 23rd. It ingresses into Aquarius. It will retrograde back over to Capricorn for a bit, and then it will come back into Aquarius, and then it will stay in Aquarius for like the next 20 years. Pluto moves really slowly because it's far away, far away from the sun. And so Pluto in Aquarius, none of us who are alive today have ever experienced Pluto in Aquarius. So this is new. This is new. And one of the things that it really deals with, and we've already started to see this, is technology. Okay, because Aquarius is associated and related with technology. And when it comes together with Pluto, we're really talking about like the more difficult, and kind of darker sides of like the technological advancements that are happening right now. So I don't want to get too far into that. I think that's a talk for another time, but I do just want to kind of generally touch on technology as it relates to our kiddos. So I want to just share a resource. I'm going to tag it in the description below. It's just an Instagram page that is super helpful, has been super helpful for me when dealing with screen time for kiddos, for my kiddo. And yeah, I'll just drop it there for you to check out. And I'll just kind of throw that out there that might be kind of a more practical, like material, like area of focus for this month. Just that your kiddos' relationship and habits and routines with technology and how that works for your family. The resource that I'm sharing, I really appreciate the way this person talks about like screen time and tech use for kids, because they really frame it in the context of like, it's not that screens or technology is like good or bad. It's really about what works for your family. Like if the kiddos being on the screen is overall like helping your family at that moment while you're cooking dinner or whatever it is, and they're getting a little, time to do something that they enjoy, then cool. If it's helping the family, then cool, and it really helps to kind of sort through and let go of some of just the kind of knee-jerk reactions that some of us, I myself included for sure, might have about screens and technology just like being inherently bad. And I think that that's a really great starting point for kind of what I mentioned is going to be coming up with like Pluto and Aquarius. Because I think that, yeah, it will be important for us to really examine fears that we have around technology, many of them which are very, very, very legitimate. But also, yeah, just bringing that consciousness. So I will drop that resource below. And I hope this was helpful, and wishing you a very happy and beautiful Aquarius lunar cycle. Talk soon.